Another day at the ICC Cricket World Cup 2019 and another abandonment. We've got another game now going down to the rain. It's New Zealand versus India. Both teams have split a point each, which now takes New Zealand. They were already on top of the table, but become the first team with 7 points in the tournament so far. As I said, we've got 4 games so far that have been abandoned, but a first for these two teams. Up until now, they were the two undefeated teams, and that's supposed to be is going to be a bright spot for both teams. They'll remain undefeated in the tournament so far. Joining me in studio, I've got Michael Hussey, Ajit Agarkar. We had 15 Kiwis there in the ground, putting their feet up and relaxing, but we had one Kiwi working really hard. It's about 2:30 in the morning there in New Zealand. Kyle Mills joins us from there. All in all, the Kiwi team must be happy. I mean, 7 points. No other teams reached that far in the tournament.
Yeah, like a point's a point. You can only control what you can control. So they'll take the point. They'll move on to South Africa now, who are having a poor tournament. So hopefully the New Zealand side can keep the ball rolling.
Okay, just looking at the points table there, Michael, I'll come to you. You weren't very nice to your Anzac neighbours. Tell you what, they've now left you eating dust with a point ahead. You were joint number 1, but now New Zealand there with 7 points, the only team to have reached far. I'm just saying, looking ahead to now how the semi-final scenario will play out, this could be a crucial point there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And they're in good shape, New Zealand.
Yeah.
Look, obviously haven't been defeated yet. Another point just puts more pressure on the rest of the competition. And also look at that net run rate. Over 2 in the positive, so they're actually in really good shape. They probably just need a couple more wins, maybe 2 or 3 more really good performances, and they'll be pretty much locking away a semi-final berth.
From India's perspective, they remain undefeated, as I was saying, Ajit, but one more game now down without Shikhar, really missing Shikhar Dhawan in this tournament.
You wouldn't know. I mean, if they had played, we probably would have known if they actually miss him or not. Yeah, it's a real shame. I think this was a real game. 2 teams who've been undefeated. You want to see how good New Zealand really are. You want India to play against one of the form teams, if you like. A real shame. I think it's been one of those weeks, unfortunately, and that's why everyone's talking about it, because suddenly all happened. I think so far the World Cup's been going pretty smooth, and in this week it's been rough, which you can't help it. I think you can't control the weather as much as a lot of voices are saying for reserve days and all sorts of things. I think sometimes you just have to accept it and move on.
Okay, now I know both of you are so eager to talk about the rain. We haven't spoken about the rain enough on the show, but we'll continue talking about that because, as I said, there's been another abandonment, but a lot of flack, Michael, coming ICC's way. A lot of fans really upset, but really the ICC couldn't have done much. Just looking at the situation, what do you do? It's something that's not controllable.
That's right. You can't control the weather. It's disappointing. Everyone's frustrated. We want to see the best players play from all around the world. We want to see top quality cricket. But I saw Dave Richardson's statement a few days ago, and he's spot on. It's a logistical nightmare to have reserve days, and we can't have the tournament going on forever. So we just have to grin and bear it, move on, hope and pray that the weather turns around quickly, and we can get back to watching the stars on the field.
Right, there are more memes right now on social media than the number of balls that have been bowled in the last few days. But I'll stick with World Cup in England. Many questioning why I have a World Cup there in England. But you played the 1999 World Cup. Can you remember so many games being abandoned?
Not at all. I think also what's sort of in everyone's face, it's all happened over the last few days. There've been a few. The first week was pretty good, and then it's happened, and obviously it's got everyone talking. So, like I said, I understand the frustrations of people, maybe turning up for games or watching it or trying to watch at home and not happening. But sometimes you just can't help, but you can't fight nature. So just move on. I mean, it's all very well to keep saying have reserve days and try finding ways to maybe not lose points for teams, but I think there's only so much you can do. In a tournament as long as this, you get to play 9 games, I think it's always going to be difficult. It's unfortunate. The one bad thing, well, not a bad thing, I think the frustrating thing today was, at times there was no rain, but the outfield was wet. So far we haven't seen that happen. I think it's usually kept raining. I know there was a lot of rain after that, but at the start when the covers came off, unfortunately the square was pretty wet. Maybe that's something they can look at in future games, that if there is, if it's not raining, there should be a better chance of starting the game.
Yeah, I can remember, Michael. I can a lot of games in Sri Lanka. I remember they have covers for the entire ground, not just for the square. Few games in Eden Gardens. It rains a lot there. In Calcutta too, they have the entire ground covered. Something that they can look at.
I think so, definitely. The covers they have on the actual pitch in England are magnificent. How they can wheel them out on the wheels, and they still allow air to go underneath to keep the pitch in good shape. But they still just cover probably the bowlers' run-ups and the rest of the square. Perhaps in a place like England where, unfortunately, there is a fair bit of weather that comes through, maybe they should be looking at covering the whole ground so we don't have issues like what Ajit was saying where, yes, everything's fine, ready to go, we'll stop raining, but the outfield's still too wet to start play.
Kyle, you must have been listening to our conversation. Do you have a solution in mind? I mean, we're talking about covers in the entire ground, something that can be looked at?
Yeah, look, we don't really get too much rain here in New Zealand, so we haven't come across this before. But look, I think technology is always improving. So I think in years to come, like the Super Soaker has been around for day dot almost. It's been around a long time. I'm sure in years to come, there'll be a new invention. There'll be more technology that quicken up the return to play. So yeah, you can only control what you can control. It's unfortunate it's happening right now in the biggest stage of all. But it is what it is. You've got to move on, roll with the punches. But yeah, look, I'm sure in time technology will come up with the right solution.
All right, plenty of things that can be done. But if you think we haven't discussed the rain issue threadbare, but you know, there were suggestions about having a reserve day. We had that discussion in our program called Run Order. This is the ESPNcricinfo crew talking about that.
I know logistically it would have been a big headache for the tournament organisers, and I know that it would have been difficult, but we have got quite a lot of time in between games, and if we have got to travel a day later, then so be it. We put men on the moon. So why can't we have a reserve day when actually this tournament is a long tournament?
If the rain gods were a team in this World Cup, they'd have been up on the table for consistency. In just 2 weeks, the 2019 edition has already broken the World Cup record of most matches that are called off. And if you need a rather glum throwback, it was just in June 2017 when the Champions Trophy, also in England, saw many innovative ways of killing time on rainy days. Now, with the ICC defending no reserve days and blaming unseasonable weather, where does that leave teams and fans?
But then what do we do?
It's tough, I mean, but it's the same for everyone. Now, it might...
it rains on your match, not on somebody else's.
Yeah, but that you, I mean...
India Park, rain has been forecast. For example, I'm just telling you, this is serious.
No, fair enough, but I mean, those rules are put in place before the start of the tournament. If someone has a problem, then they should argue about them at that point. I think every team's happy. I don't think anyone wants to have a reserve day. Yeah, it might affect you. Sometimes you might actually have a game where it affects your game, the weather, and you might be out of the tournament. You just have to take it. I mean, because you can't have it both ways.
I'll take a legal perspective on this.
Thank you.
Ronak will agree with me.
Out of work
I mean,
lawyer.
rain and interruptions like that's an act of God. So, I mean, I think the game already caters for interruptions and these sort of circumstances. I would not want to sort of complicate a tournament with reserve days. I think the tournament rules and regulations were announced.
3 teams may suffer.
So be it. That's beyond anyone's control.
I agree with my fellow lawyer here. That
Daddy, you're a LLB?
I have my undergraduate law degree, yeah.
What are you saying? There's 2 educated people, Ajit.
In 2007, they used to have reserve days during the Super 8s. I remember Brian Lara's game against England where his final game was going on forever.
Alone.
Yeah, and it happened twice. It doesn't necessarily mean that the tournament gets more exciting. If you just want the result for the sake of a result, sometimes rain adds to the drama.
But for example, they expect June 16 to be rain. Can they change that date?
No, they've kept reserve days.
you just want a reserve day for that game.
Yeah.
$80,000 for the cheapest ticket. Ajit, won't
They are
buy an umbrella after that?
they're refunding tickets if you don't get a game, if you don't get a ball in the game. That much
it's not only about. I agree with the logistical nightmare.
Are you a lawyer?
Yeah.
Are you a lawyer?
I'm not. Can I still talk?
If you're a lawyer, speak. Are you an engineer? You be an engineer. Not even an engineer. What are you? You're an ice cream. Malai.
My question is just that because India-Pakistan is commercially such an important game. Forget ticketing and all that.
It's the biggest
match after the final. Would the ICC consider, I don't know, having a reserve day just for that? Is it that crazy an idea to have a reserve day for India?
Is it a prejudiced idea also because other teams will be, what the hell?
Right, I agree logically as they're saying. I mean, it's even for everyone, but just to put it into context, because you mentioned the 1983 World Cup, India wouldn't have won the World Cup had there been no reserve day. The India-West Indies game, the first game they won, went on to the second day. England was playing Australia, Australia was playing West Indies, that game went to the reserve day, and Australia lost. So, I mean, I'm just saying it could make a major difference to the
it's
tournament.
there for the semis and the final.
One more reason they cannot have reserve days is because it's very difficult. You can't book your tickets, because what if it rains? Then you can't keep booking for multiple tickets. You can't block all flights, hotels. It's logistic.
Anyway, they're having a nightmare with the tickets.
So what
It's a logistical nightmare.
In England, people don't take 2 days off.
There is a 40% chance of rain anyway without any prayer. So 2 days of India-Pakistan matches would be fantastic for everyone.
I say make it 3 days and just cancel one of the other games. I'm sure we can work out something. Or we go around the room very quickly. Reserve day, I think you guys said
Not
no.
in the current format that they're playing. 9 games, if you play
You
well
both-
enough,
you
you
both
have enough
played
games to
in tournaments
qualify.
where we've had reserve days. So you're saying this from experience as well.
I say I agree with it. Reserve days for the playoff matches, the
pinnacle.
final.
The end. Fair enough. So the experts say no. Malay wants his India-Pakistan. Cancel the rest of the tournament. Nothing else matters.
You can't make exceptions just for a few games. You got to do it for the tournament, and it's not possible. Logically,
Not
you
an
can't.
egalitarian approach.
Yeah, you can't do it in such a format.
Fair enough.
I'm saying not a single
Short term.
game in this World Cup.
Now, finish it now.
Not a single game in this
Stop,
World
stop.
Cup
Bas.
will have a non-result.
The rain will
because
come
of
and
rain.
go, but you will go on and on and on and on, man. Sorry, guys. No rain.
Right, that was 5 minutes of chat, but no solution in sight as far as the rain is concerned. You've had New Zealand and India split points at Trent Bridge. This is Simon Dewell with both the captains after the match. All right, but on ESPNcricinfo, we will continue talking about the game that's coming up, and that is West Indies versus England in Southampton. I'm just looking at this particular game. West Indies, for now, have been using their short pitch bowling rather well against most teams. How do you see that approach versus a team like England with an explosive top order there?
I don't think you change the way you're playing or your strengths just because you're playing X team or a Y team. I think, of course, you reassess where you are on that particular day. I think they've done that to Australia, they've done that to Pakistan, and they did a little bit to South Africa on a better pitch. So I don't think they'll change that. I think what they obviously need to get wickets off new ball against England, because we've seen how dangerous that batting is. It seems a never-ending batting lineup, and they all bat the same way. So that approach has paid dividends. They'd hope that there's a bit in the pitch, which will then help them. So I think what they've done really well, West Indies, is not just bowl short, but what's gone on in between those short balls has been really impressive and very consistent, which has paid dividends.
Right,
This is
No,
going to
please
be
go.
a really explosive match, because I heard Jason Holder after the washout against South Africa say, you know, their plan is they don't care how many runs they go for early, but they just want to go for wickets. And England, we know how hard they go with the bat, so this is just a recipe for something to explode. It should be interesting.
Tell you what, because England also has firepower as far as short pitch bowling is concerned, and guess who they've got? They've got someone who was born in the Caribbean, Jofra Archer, and he was the topic of discussion on the eve of the game.
What have you made of what you've seen of Jofra Archer?
I've seen Jofra over the years. You know, he's obviously a Barbadian. You know, he's grown up in Barbados playing cricket. So what I'm seeing for Jofra doesn't surprise me. You know, he's one of those guys who's always had that ability and that talent. You know, just unfortunate how things went in terms of his decision making. But you know, he's a good talent.
Would he make it into your team?
He's English, so no.
And for Jofra Archer, is this the perfect opportunity to show them what they missed?
No, I think that sort of opportunity has been going for some time now. Jofra's been very consistent over a long period of time since he came to Sussex. It's great that he's in an England shirt at the moment. He won't know how it'll feel until he plays the game tomorrow. I think being in that position myself, it does feel different the first time you play against a side that either you could have potentially played for or played for. But I'm sure he'll handle it like he's handled everything else throughout the tournament so far.
Yeah, from what you've seen of Jofra and like, work with him in an England context, do you think that opportunity is more likely to, I suppose, inspire him rather than intimidate him?
Every challenge he's come up against so far, he's come out the other side of it really well. So I mean, let's just see how it goes. We're not expecting anything majorly different.
All right, interesting there by Eoin Morgan, talking about experiencing being born in one country and then playing against it for another country. This is something that Eoin Morgan has experienced. I can't ask the two of you because it hasn't happened with you. But Ajit, I'll ask you, being a football fan, sometimes happens in football, right? Where you've played for one club for the longest time, and then when you're playing against them, you have some sort of loyalty. It is tough.
I'm not sure. I don't think he's played much cricket in the West Indies. I mean, he's played a lot of cricket in England, so I don't know whether it'll actually
he played
affect
his junior cricket and
a little bit. So I don't know how
Barbados.
much of it would affect him. Like Morgan said, maybe the first time that you play, you'll feel a little bit different. But once you're in the middle of a game, I don't think you think about all those things. I think at the moment he's enjoying his time with England, and he's been their spearhead in spite of being new to international cricket. And I don't think it'll change. I think he'll still try to get Chris Gayle and Shai Hope out every time when he goes out to bowl tomorrow.
You were talking about Holder saying that they'll continue with that sort of short pitch strategy, but we've seen it with Jofra Archer, and we can see in this particular tournament, 3 matches that he's played, picked up 6 wickets, but I'd never forget that bouncer that he bowled at that time. So if you really have a dangerous bowler, England have one too.
He's been absolutely superb for England in this tournament. And coming into the tournament, say a couple of months before, it was the one missing link, in my view, of that England team, having that real spearhead, someone with serious pace to sort of really rough up the opposition. And Jofra Archer's come in, he's done it beautifully, he's in great touch, and I think he will have a little bit of extra motivation to do well against the West Indies tomorrow.
If you're just looking at the team, does Moeen Ali then come back for you, for the English
100%.
team?
I think 100%.
Who do you then leave out?
My preference always was for Mark Wood. It looks like they think Plunkett does a job for them in the middle of the innings. They've got to decide one way or the other. I think Plunkett played the first game because Wood wasn't fit. Then they got Wood back, and then they got Plunkett back in place of Moeen Ali. So I think between the two, they've got to decide who's going to give them, or who does that role better in the middle of the innings. And by the looks of it, they feel that Plunkett gets them wickets in the middle of the innings. So they might go for Plunkett, but they've got to get Moeen Ali back. I think just Adil Rashid bowls better when Moeen Ali is in the team, and vice versa. So just generally, I think with left-handers in the West Indies team might make a difference as well, and just gives you more balance in the attack. You don't want, unless it's a green pitch and overhead conditions dictate that, I don't think they need to play with one spinner.
Okay, just that taking from that point, in case, I mean, there's a bit of rain about in Southampton, surprise, surprise, what do you do then? You play both the spinners, Adil Rashid as well as Moeen, or then do you leave one of them out?
Well, that's what you have to have a good look at when you get down there. Have a look at the conditions, have a look at the pitch, weigh up who's probably going to be more effective. But I agree with Ajit. I think Moeen Ali's a fantastic cricketer, offers a lot, obviously with bat and ball. And I think England are a better team with both him and Adil Rashid in the same team. If it's really green and it's going to offer plenty, then maybe you might go for the extra fast bowler and just sort of make Moeen Ali wait. But I'd be reluctant to do that.
All right, we didn't have too much to talk to Kyle about New Zealand versus India, so we'll throw a question about West Indies versus England. Kyle, most teams that England is playing against this World Cup, England start as the favourite, but would you say this particular encounter, West Indies could really give them a run for their money, considering I think in the recent past, West Indies is the only team that they haven't been able to win a ODI series against?
Yeah, for sure. This has been a matchup I've been looking forward to watching over the past week or so, just with the way the West Indies cricket side have started this World Cup. England, for me, have been the hot favourites coming in. They play a great brand of cricket, but it's also high risk. They definitely play a high-risk game of cricket. It has been working, but how do you maintain that throughout the duration of the intensity of this type of tournament we're playing now? Now, with the West Indies playing on the opposite side of the coin, an aggressive approach in their bowling attack as well, which has worked to effect so far in this tournament, as Hustis pointed out just before, just to see this batting lineup go against this bowling lineup is going to be, from an outsider looking in, it's going to be a fascinating watch. Now for England, deserving favourites of this tournament. They're also deserving favourites of the Champions Trophy 2 years ago, and they fell up short. So it'll be good to see if they've had learnings from that experience 2 years ago, and how they've rectified that, because maintaining that type of risk cricket throughout this duration of the whole tournament, that's going to be a big ask in my opinion.
All right, Kyle, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for those thoughts. And we wouldn't want to prolong that misery of keeping you up. It's 3 a.m., so we'll let you now go to sleep. Meanwhile, let's catch up with ESPN anchor Isha Acton and Veronica Jose, the winner of ESPN Cricinfo, visit Britain's biggest fan challenge as they explore the culture of Nottingham, the home of Robin Hood.
Hi guys, it's me, Isha, here in Nottingham for the ESPN Cricinfo Visit Britain Biggest Fan Challenge. We're now here at the Harley Cafe, which is just around the corner, to refuel and get started to explore. Let's go in. Oh, Veronica, I love the shirt. Isn't it interesting? A up, mid up. We've arrived in Sherwood Forest. But where's Robin Hood? Well, if we can avoid the Sheriff of Nottingham and find him and his merry men, I'll be very happy. Let's get searching. So green. Where do we even start?
I know you can scarce believe your eyes, but it is I,
oh, wow.
Robin Hood.
It's Robin Hood! Yeah.
Famous son of Nottingham, hero of Sherwood Forest, champion of England! Beige oak, the world's most famous tree. Legend tells us this was a trysting tree, or meeting place of Robin Hood and his merry men. His hideout, because this tree is hollow. 14 people inside this tree.
We're at Newstead Abbey, ancestral home to the great poet Lord Byron. Oh yeah, I've read his books in college. Well, let's feed some of these ducks and get inside and explore. Ah. How old is this?
Not very old, actually. Probably.
I was going to say, it's either old and breed, like well polished. Well, after that lovely history lesson, we're now here at the Cockliff Country House Hotel for a quintessential British tradition. Are you ready for some afternoon tea? Very much. Let's go. We're here in Nottingham, the city of sport, so it only seems right to end our day the best till last. We're at Trent Bridge and we're in for an exciting, action-packed summer of sport.
Well, you shouldn't forget the highlight of my summer, India take on New Zealand right here.
I travel for culture, and what can I say about the culture here in Nottingham? I've seen British heritage, history and sport all wrapped together in a thoroughly enjoyable time. I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am, so until next time, it's a bye from me.
With all the rain around, thank God, there's so much more to do there in Nottingham. Ajit Agarkar and Michael Hussey still with us. Ajit, one quick comment on Virat Kohli. We heard him right after the game and he was asked about Shikhar Dhawan and he said, yes, he's injured, but we're going to keep him with the team. Do you think that's a good call to take? And I'm guessing that also tells you he might just be fit in a game or two.
I don't know about game or two, but even if he's not fit for the next couple of games or 3 games, if there's any chance of him being fit again to play in this competition, they'll keep him because India is in a good position to go through to the next round or to the semi-finals at this point. And they can afford to take that chance. He's an important player for them. They'll probably assess in another few days' time if he's likely to be fit. I mean, if there's no chance of him being fit before the semi-finals, then they might make that call, but they don't need to do that right now, and rightly so.
All right, they also have a game coming up versus Afghanistan. Sorry, do you want to make a plan? Okay, another game coming up with Afghanistan. I'm not saying it's an easy game, but relatively easier compared to all the tougher challenges that India might be facing in the tournament. So the Indian team for the moment really wants Shikhar Dhawan around. Whether he'll be fit to play the game after that, we'll just have to wait and watch. Ajit Agarkar, Michael Hussey, thanks so much for joining us. You're watching ESPN Cricinfo Matchday. Unfortunately, another washout. Here's hoping tomorrow will be another day. Thanks so much for watching.